Okay, good morning, everybody, my brilliant peeps. I hope you're kind of getting the groove and getting moving in Pro Tools. And I get some flack from people for not teaching everything in order in every single menu. And I just, my philosophy is, and I wrote this I wrote the Pro Tools book in 2007. And the first thing I wrote in the book was that in the morning, I like my coffee. I like my coffee. But do I care about taking the coffee pot apart and knowing exactly how it works and all that kind of stuff? No, I just want my coffee. Do I care who made it? Okay, well, I wouldn't want coffee made by like slave children on a plantation. But maybe let me think of a more politically correct metaphor. All right, so you're driving from your house to the store, and on the way to the store, there's neighborhoods and plants and trees, and but you have a mission. You're going from your house to the store. Do you care about what species of plant is on the road? Do you care about what streets are in what neighborhood? You really don't. If you need to go to the neighborhood, you'll need it. So the thing is, we're just getting our feet wet in Pro Tools. There's no point in overwhelming you with all of these details, what's in every menu, because it overwhelms people and it keeps them from learning, in my personal philosophy. So I'm teaching you what you need to know. And if that doesn't work for some people, I'm sorry. But hopefully it's working for you. And we're going to have a quick recap before we move on. And where we're going to move on to after this little recap is we're going to punch in to the chorus, and we're going to play "This is Ground Control to Major Tom." We're going to finish the guitars, and then we're going to start doing some vocals. Then we're going to add a little keyboard part with some effects, and we're just slowly going to put together just the first verse and the first chorus, just so you can get some harmony parts and figure out how to copy and paste things. And it's going to take 4 or 5 more lessons, but we'll get there. So this recap is kind of just letting you know what we've learned so far. And, the first thing we did was, and the first thing you do when you set up a Pro Tools session to record music is get your tempo. You have to be working to a grid. And it's a debate that I'm not going to get into, because if you ever want to work with anybody or have somebody play to your stuff, if there's no grid, you're expecting them to follow human timing. Whereas with a grid, you're following a click, and the chorus comes in to bar, 15. And if there's no grid, there's no bar 15. Beanie, hush, okay? So it's really, really important when you're learning Pro Tools and you're recording audio and recording songs that you know what bars and what beats. You don't have to specifically know what beats and everything, but if you're working to a grid, you can copy and paste and move. You can have people come in and play drums on it. You can fix things to the beat. So it's really important. First thing, establish your tempo. And then you need a click. Eventually, we're going to get beyond this click sound. I showed you how to make a loop with expand, but as I said before, for loops and stuff like that, expand is not the thing. We'll get there. We're going to use a really cool plugin called Easy Drummer, and it's awesome. I use it for everything. It's great for songwriters, and it will sound like a drummer is recording the whole song. It's not just one loop. So we have a whole lot to look forward to. And Beanie, hey. So, we're going to review what we've learned. We've done some MIDI stuff. We created a guitar track. We recorded 3 playlists, and then we made a composite of those playlists into this one composite playlist of 3 different takes. And I thought I'd also take a quick moment to go over the tools and the modes. And because I don't think I've been saying click here and do this, but I just want to explain them very, very briefly. So over here are your modes, and there are 4 modes. And shuffle mode, we're going to get to eventually. That is if I have a intro and I want to make it twice as long. If I copy and paste it, it's going to go over what's there. If I copy and paste and I go into shuffle mode, it's going to move everything back. So shuffle is when you're changing your arrangements. We're going to use it at some point, but it's very dangerous learning, because if you hit delete and you're in shuffle mode, it's going to move everything forward. So let's wait on shuffle mode. Spot mode is you want to put something in a specific spot. It's mostly used, I would say, for sound effects. So if I'm lighting a big bong and I want my lighter to go off and it comes at this specific frame, I take the sound effect for the lighter and I drag it right to that frame in spot mode. I'm just so full of not politically correct examples today. Anyway, grid mode, when you're using bars and beats, it moves to your mouse clicks only at, if you look at these numbers up here, your mouse only clicks to specific grid. Right now we have the grid, which you set it right here, set to quarter notes. I can set it to 16th notes, and you'll think, like, okay, what the heck is, if I click here, now you've got all these different numbers. It's not 0 anymore. The deal is, this is bars, these are beats, and these are what's called ticks. So there are 4 beats, because we're in 4/4, in every bar. So, and in ticks, 960 ticks makes 1 quarter note. So it's kind of like, think about resolution, how many pixels. The more pixels in a graphic, the more detailed it is. And the more ticks, no, let's forget that. 960 ticks in 1 quarter note. So if a eighth note is half of a quarter note, how many ticks are in an eighth note? 480. 960 divided by 2. Don't even worry about it. 960 ticks makes 1 quarter note. So that's all these numbers are. Bars, beats, ticks. Okay? This is your grid. And the last mode is slip mode. And slip mode is you can move, you'll see here, if there are 960 of these, and when I get close to the end here, I'm going to zoom in just so we can just see this. When I get close to the end, you see I'm getting closer to beat 4, getting closer, 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 and then when I get to boom, and then as soon as I pass 959, I'm at beat 4. So slip mode is moving freely. It's think of grid mode as you're driving down a road and you've got to stay in your lane, and the lane is the beats and the bars, and slip mode is you're in a field and you can just pop a wheelie and do whatever, donuts, whatever you want. So slip mode is move your mouse in free mode. Grid mode is moving to a grid. And now let's talk really briefly about the tools. These are your tools. We're going to start from left to right. This is called the zoomer. Magnifying glass, whatever. I call it the zoomer. So where I use command bracket to zoom in and out, it's a heck of a lot easier. Beanie. Okay, I'm going to put you down. Go on. All right. You can use the zoomer, and you see if I put my mouse over here, but I just wanted to get you guys in the habit of using the zoomer, and you'll notice that after I zoom in, it goes straight to the selector tool, which is kind of cool. I want to look at this, and now I want to edit it. So it's cool. I'm in this tool. I zoom. If I want to edit, I probably want the selector tool. So it's kind of cool sometimes to use the zoomer tool. To zoom out, command bracket, or you can use the zoomer tool, and if you hold the option key down, the one to the left of command, that will zoom out, and it still goes back to the selector tool. I believe there's a normal, that was single zoom. Normal zoom is, Beanie. Normal zoom is, it stays on the zoomer tool. If I go back here and I go to single zoom, it's going to go, boom, right to the selector tool. So there are 2 ways to use the zoomer tool. The next one is the trimmer tool. So there are a couple different trimmer tools as well. And the first one is standard, and that is just, we're going to use that when we're going to be editing here soon. And it's just to take a audio region and expand it or decrease it. What's the word? TCE means time compression expansion. We're not going to use that right now, but if you have a loop that is too fast or too slow, you can change the time of it. Hang on one second. Okay, back to the trimmer tool. There are 4 different kinds. Really, right now, don't even worry about these other ones. Just make sure you're on standard. And the next one is the selector tool, and that's the one you're going to be using most of the time to highlight and to do your edits and stuff. The next one is the grabber tool, the hand tool. And if you see these little triangles right here, That tells you there's more than one version of the hand tool, if I can just get to it. Time, we use this in MIDI when we wanted to move some notes. So if we're going to get to it, so, but don't get overwhelmed. The grabber tool, when you're using audio, I can use this to move stuff. Again, it can be very dangerous because, let me just screw it up and move this. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Now it's all messed up. Command Z, undo. I use that all the time because I mess up all the time. The other two you're really probably not going to use very much. It's the scrubber tool. We might use it, and this one is the pencil tool. And again, there's a little menu to show you, hey, there's more pencils than this. And I can't get it to click. There we go. So you can use this to draw volumes, to draw all sorts of stuff. When you're using MIDI, you can use it to input a note. So we will be using the pencil tool at some point, but we'll get there. The main tools we're going to be using are these three. And you'll notice if I click up here, I have this thing called the Super Tool. Back when I started using Pro Tools, there was no Super Tool. So I tend to get in the habit of just switching from tool to tool. But you'll notice the Super Tool uses all three of these. If I click in the middle of a region, it's the Selector tool. If I move my mouse lower, it becomes the Grabber. And if I'm clicking towards the end of it, it becomes the Trimmer. It's really a great tool. I should get in the habit of using it. And since you're new users, use the Super Tool. And then you can also use the Super Tool to make crossfades. We'll get there. So those are your modes. Those are your tools. And there are shortcuts to get to them. Instead of finding my mouse and going up here, I need the Grabber. The shortcut to go between the tools is the Escape key at the top left. And you'll notice I'm hitting, it scrolls between them. After I get to the hand tool, it goes to the Super Tool, Scrubber, Pencil. Then I'm there, the Trimmer, Selector, Hand, Super Tool, Scrubber, Pencil. And you can see I'm just scrolling. I'm just tapping on the Escape key. To get to the modes, the key below that is the tilde key. So that goes between all my different modes. So there we go, and there's my mode. So it's really quick when you're editing. Oh, I want to be in slip mode. Bam. Well, bam. So that's a quick recap of everything. Let's double click on the zoomer so we'll be ready to record our next. We're going to punch in with the guitars now and start and play the chorus. We're going to finish the guitars and then move on to vocals. So let's do that, and I will see you in the next lesson.